Let me start with the serious, and then we'll get to a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We got all kinds of stuff. But the most serious thing going on, and I wanted to get your view of it because it relates to speech and rhetoric, is the right-wing violent rhetoric that is the context for this terrible attack on the Speaker Pelosi's husband, her home, and was targeting her. I know you care about free speech, so do I. I actually, viewers know, practiced First Amendment law for Floyd Abrams. But there's no free speech right to incitement.
No.
Do you think that well, we still have to follow the facts. We don't have all the facts yet about this defendant. Do you think the wider violent rhetoric, especially on the right, is contributing to all this?
Of course. I think we're in a cold civil war in this country. I mean, people keep talking about civil war. There's an awful lot of people who will tell a pollster they think it's going to come. Some seem eager for it, which I keep saying, so you want to kill other Americans? Is that really where you're at? And some people are. And other people ask, I've asked, what is the next civil war we're going to have look like? And of course, it's not going to look like the last one because it's not like we're neatly on two sides of a border with armies that are going to fight each other. It's going to look like this. It's going to look like attacks on different people. There was a drag queen story hour in a pub in Portland, I think it was, last week, that there was violence. They kind of attacked it, and there was some sort of brouhaha outside with weapons and so forth. That's what the next civil war looks like.
And we're an overarmed country in that sense.
Right. I mean, on the other side, police officers have been attacked because there has been rhetoric on the other side saying things like all police are racist and so forth, things like that. So it's not like it's one-sided, and there's a lot of nuts out there. No, one side definitely has more squirrels, and that would be the right.
Yeah.
They do. And they also seem to like violence more. So, you know, for the people who, on the left, who are egging on a civil war, I would say don't. They have more guns and they know how to use them.
Right. That's sort of a little bit of practicality mixed in there as well, in addition to morality. As we look at the midterms, let me show you some of what we're hearing. I've got both candidates, but first from Republican candidates right now.
I just want to save as many lives as possible. I think that's the goal of a pro-life policy.
Cannot accuse me of insurrection. I was a victim of the January 6th riot just as much as any other member of Congress.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think that marriage ought to be between a man and a woman.
We want to know the winner on election night. We don't want to be counting for 10 days.
Will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result.
Spoken like Mussolini, you mentioned you're decades in. Have you ever seen a Republican slate like this, particularly on democracy?
Well, I've seen them have kooks before. I mean, you know, I remember 2010 with the witch, the one who I think I helped make a star. She used to be on, of course, you know, used to be on Politically Incorrect. And then when I exposed her as the witch, I mean, that was good for comedy fodder. And you know, the guy who said we can shut that whole thing down with rape, remember Murdoch was that. I mean, they've fielded crazy candidates before. It's sort of the brand.
At this point, yeah.
Yes, now it's sort of something that's taken over. I mean, before I came here, I was working on our editorial for this Friday's show, and the theme of it really is goodbye democracy, because I think once we have this election, if the Republicans now, by all measures, they're going to win this election.
You think?
Well, I mean, the party out of power almost always wins the midterm election anyway, right? Because it's the midterms, you got to throw the rascals out. So everyone's sort of acting like this is a normal time, but it's not. Once they win, the die is cast. Because what's going to happen is, I think there's something like 291 people on the ballot who are election deniers or serious questioners, but they basically don't believe in democracy. They don't believe that, you know, the person with the most votes wins unless he's on our side. Okay, so this is what Trump has been doing behind the scenes, wanting to put these people in place. Because let me tell you something, Ari, on January 20th, my birthday, 2025, he's going to show up at the inauguration, whether he's on the list or not. He's going to show up. But this time, he's going to have this army of election deniers that he has put in place. I mean, People don't slide into authoritarianism necessarily with tanks in the street. Hitler was elected. Putin was elected. Or Erdogan in Turkey was elected. Viktor Orban. It's a little like, most immigrants, how many walls you build, most immigrants, illegal immigrants, just take a plane here and then stay. That's how they get here.
Yeah.
In a similar way, you can get elected and then just not leave. And that is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. And then I want to get on the other side. We've shown early in the broadcast what Biden and Obama have been saying. Here's what some Democrats are saying, and some Republicans have been trying to flip this into a kind of a crime wave election, among other things. Here's a couple Democrats on the trail.
Senator Schumer's here, and I want to make sure he's my future boss, so I got to suck up a little bit here.
There is absolutely no doubt that the data shows that the vast majority of incidents of domestic terror come from white nationalism, and that we are really truly facing an environment of fascism and in the United States of America.
We're talking about incarcerated individuals who don't have a right to vote, which is unfortunate in itself and another conversation.
You were a big Obama backer publicly, but you're also independent. What do you think of the Democrats' closing argument here a week out?
Gave him $1 million.
I heard.
In 2012, because I thought it was that important that the first African-American president not only be elected, but re-elected. That was really important. So I was happy to do that. Yes, I mean, the Democratic Party, I think, is in a very different place than it was under Obama. But I hate to beat a dead horse there. I have to go back to, they're running on all these issues that are like normal, sort of normal issues. Crime, we've heard that before, inflation. People haven't gotten it, I don't think. This ship of state has hit the iceberg. But we're still like acting like it's normal, like they did on the Titanic after oh, what was that? And then they went back to drinking champagne. But really, the ship was going to go down. If the Republicans win this election, which I'm sure they will, I think they will, again, it's all about, then what we're going to see in the next 2 years is just hearing after hearing about whatever, Hunter Biden, and they're going to impeach Biden himself. And then, again, Trump is not going to accept no for an answer with the election, and he's going to have the people in place this time
so
who will allow him to pull off this coup. And then they are just never, I mean, I've been saying this since 2016.
But your warning is they're going to run quasi-normal. Hey, crime, prices, that's what they're running. And then they're going to govern totally fascist.
Well, but the Democrats are running normal, too. That's what I'm saying, is that nobody has realized.
Nobody's meeting the moment.
Nobody is meeting that. Nobody has realized that we are already in a completely different paradigm. And this has happened in many other countries, and it seems to be happening now. This is the it can't happen to us moment, but it's happening to us. And, this is the way I think it's going to play out. And we will really, it'll be very interesting in January of 2025. Because if he wins, and he could win legitimately, because, this is America, and the Democrats do some goofy stuff. I understand. I mean, I always say, you can hate Trump. You can't hate everybody who votes for him. It's half the country. That's the way to...
A little under half.
That's not the way to that is the way to civil war, to stop talking to each other.
Well, and interestingly,
to just hate each other.
To flesh that out, the Democrats you mentioned who have won nationally and decisively, Obama and Biden, have done more of what you're saying, which is try to win people back and try to leave room for crossing that path. On fascism, I want to play you some Lindsey Graham, who's in the news tonight because I mentioned he's always telling people just comply with police, but not him. He takes it all the way to the Supreme Court. He also did the same thing that he warned against when there was alleged looting and unrest in the 2020 BLM protests. He said, hey, you got to be responsible. We can't be governed this way, right? You got to put that down. And yet the thought that if a prosecutor might indict Donald Trump, this is what Lindsey Graham warned about.
If there's a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information after the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job, there'll be riots in the streets.
Is that wrong?
Well, I mean... Lindsey Graham, come on. I mean, what are you saying, that he's a shameless hypocrite?
I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you a question.
Of course he is. I mean, it's Lindsey Graham. The thing I think he's talking about here or maybe he's not, but I think it's just a great example of the shameless hackery that goes on, is, you know, when it was about Hillary's classified material, that was the whole election, her emails, which turned out to really have nothing on them. It was about wedding planning and stuff. And then Trump, you know, like steals, like literally steals classified documents and puts them at his golf club in the shed with the croquet equipment. But that's okay. I mean, it was such a, and even when he was in office, much greater violations of that. You know, he would talk on a insecure phone. Yeah. The president of the United States, you know, he had the Russians into the Oval Office. Remember that day? And, you know, giveaways. He didn't know what mattered. He didn't care. It doesn't. So, you know, if you're asking about the hypocrisy with the Lindsey Graves in the world, I'm out.
You're out.
I mean, I've just.
That's like he was out. He was out on Jan 6 for about 8 hours. I don't know if you remember. He said, I'm out. Count me out. Hey, I'm Ari Melber. Thanks for watching The Beat. I wanted to let you know I'm writing a foreword to the January 6th committee's full report, which is coming out soon from HarperCollins. You can go pre-order the book right now, and it'll come to you first when the report comes out in the fall or whenever the government releases it. Just search Melber Jan 6 on Amazon or your favorite independent book site and click pre-order. You'll be the first to get both the report and my new piece on the coup conspiracy. You can also go to melberbook.com and order it there.